Have you ever heard of the term curiosity killed the cat? Well, it's a proverb used to warn of the dangers of unnecessary investigation or being too inquisitive about other people's affairs. This idiom was coined because cats are naturally very curious animals. I would know. I used to have a pet kitten. I called her Angel. And when you moved your hand, she moved her head along. She was very curious to know everything. And it's funny and pretty much acceptable for cats. But for humans, it hinders our faith. Now, faith is a term used to express complete confidence and trust in God, and it's based on conviction rather than proof. So when we're consumed with knowing why it's happening, how it's going to happen, or when it's going to happen, it negates the whole point of believing. Now, quite recently, I was asked why I had this channel. And to be honest, I came up with various answers as some sort of coping mechanism because I wasn't quite clear on the details. I was just going along with God's plans and instructions. But I trusted that it would bring me to an expected end. Now, back in the days, I'm what you'd call a social butterfly. And due to the nature of my job, I met quite a lot of people, a whole lot. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Problem with me was I didn't vet anyone or do my due diligence. As long as they plastered a smile and said a few good words, I was accepting, and sometimes I went as far as opening up my life to them. Now, don't get me wrong, I met some amazing, absolutely amazing people. But I was also an easy target for the bad ones. It was also a time when my relationship with God was very wishy-washy. You know, I would take my faith very seriously 1 minute, and as soon as the enemy throws 1 or 2 distractions my way, I was off again. Till it blows up in smoke, then I come back again. Then eventually I came to an understanding that if you haven't experienced darkness, you will never appreciate light. Now, imagine being stuck in a dark room and you can't see anything and the light suddenly comes on. You will be relieved. That was what I experienced a few years ago when I created this channel. I had no clue what I would talk about, but I was praying a lot at the time, so I allowed God to take the lead. Now, I believe God wanted me to understand what darkness was by taking me through some very, very difficult parts whilst exposing the tools of the enemy to me. If you listen to my earlier messages, they were weird and sometimes even scary. I discussed all sorts of practices and then sometimes at the time I would go back to God in prayer and say, like, really? You want me to talk about this? People think I've gone cuckoo. And all I would hear is speak. Now, part of the training program, as I would like to call it, is that at that time, there were no distractions, no job contracts, no friends, no nothing. So I had no excuses. One thing that happened was that many of those people I knew were turning their backs on me, avoiding me, talking to other people, gossiping, and I would fuss endlessly and complain about it. Maybe it's not really God I'm hearing. Maybe I should talk about things that are more acceptable. Then after about 1 or so plus years in complete obedience, I finally got an answer. Those people turning their backs and avoiding you are not rejecting you. They're afraid. Of me? Of course not. They're afraid because they thought they had covered their tracks quite well. Now, when they plaster a smile and say, oh, my sister, let's go to the house of God together. Now, behind closed doors, they pull out cards and read your future to monitor you. And you're exposing that. Now, some of them will smile and celebrate your wins, but behind closed doors, they pull out Ouija boards and perform necromancy to block and stop the blessings coming in for you. And you're talking about it. Now, some would say, oh, I'm too prim and proper and perfect, but will do the most despicable things behind closed doors. And you seem to have knowledge of that. It's not rejection. They're thinking, oh my goodness, she knows. And then God said, enough of the darkness. Let's focus on the light. It's time to start talking about me because they are watching. And they're saying to themselves, there has to be a higher power exposing all the secret tools we use. It's not possible. There has to be a higher power delivering you from all the years of monitoring, blocking, and delays? How is it possible that just when we thought we buried you, you became a seed and grew? What is this power? God said, speak. Speak about that higher power, but speak in love, without judgment, without vengeance, and without discrimination. And as they watch and listen, the power of God will transform their hearts from darkness to the light. Because the light of God shines into the darkness, and the darkness can never overcome it. Namaste.